Hi everyone, I'm Kate Westbrook, Marketing Communications Manager at Pharmacist Support, and I'd like to welcome you to our very first ACTNow Wellbeing panel chat. These panel chats are brought to you as part of our ACTNow Wellbeing campaign that runs for 5 weeks from World Pharmacist Day on the 25th of September through to the 29th of October. Each week we'll be focusing on one of the well-established 5 ways to wellbeing, which are be active, give, take notice, keep learning and connect. And these sessions will bring an informative science or evidence-based element to the weekly ACTNow Wellbeing theme, busting myths, sharing examples of wellbeing in action and providing a taster of some of the tools used by many to support their mental health. And each week we'll be chatting with our resident Pharmacist Support Wellbeing expert, Melissa Cochrane, who'll be providing a science-based look at each of the wellbeing themes and why it works. Plus, we'll be inviting along some special guests to share their mental health and wellbeing experiences with us too. So I think I'll get straight into it, introduce our guest today. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Melissa Cochrane, who's the charity's resident wellbeing expert. Melissa has an extensive background in psychotherapy, counselling and wellbeing, and joined the charity as Senior Wellbeing Development Officer early this year to help shape and develop our wellbeing service. So hi, Melissa. And we've got Mohammed Hussain, a man who wears many hats, working for NHS Digital, running his own pharmacy practice, and he's also currently non-executive director at Bradford Teaching Hospitals Foundation Trust. Plus, if that's not enough, he's also signed himself up to be our 2021 Pharmacist Support London Marathon runner next weekend. Welcome, Mohammed.
Hi, everyone.
And finally, last but not least, we have Sheena Sharma. And Sheena is a qualified pharmacist and independent prescriber who has worked within community pharmacy and general practice and is currently practicing within a full-time care homes pharmacist role. Welcome, Sheena.
Hi, everyone.
So thank you all for joining us today. We're going to get straight into it, and I'm going to hand over to you, Melissa, first, to perhaps start us off by talking us through this week's theme, which is being active. And perhaps you can explain to us how exercising works and what it does to our bodies and how it can support our mental as well as our physical health.
Well, what I love about exercising is that it isn't just good for one part of our system, but it impacts us in so many ways. So it helps with our physical health and fitness. It helps with sleep. If we join a group or exercise with others, it helps us with well-being by encouraging connection. Of course, it helps with our mental health as well. I think that people have known this probably for centuries, if not millennia, but the research is really catching up with this, and we know that exercise can be really, really helpful for people who are suffering from depression and anxiety, amongst other mental health complaints. I also love that it doesn't really matter what type of exercise you do, as long as you do something that you enjoy and it's sustainable for you. So we've got Mohammed on here, who's a runner, which is fabulous. But if you hate running, going out for a run every day is going to be really, really hard, and you'll be fighting yourself to get out there. And the great news is you don't have to. I was watching a show, it was a little while ago, and I think it was Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, and they were investigating Zumba versus Tai Chi. And we think of Zumba as being, much more aerobic, cardiovascular exercise, Tai Chi much slower and more meditative. And they were measuring its effects on participants. They put them in 2 different groups. And at the end of this little tiny study that they did, there was virtually no difference between the 2 groups. So what's exciting about that is it means you don't have to suffer through doing something that you really don't like. You can find something you like and you'll get the benefits out of it. And I think that's great.
Which kind of moves on to the next question, really. So what would you say are the benefits of our mental health then of being active?
Yeah, so biologically, we know that exercise releases endorphins, which create feelings of happiness and euphoria. Exercise, as I mentioned before, it can help people suffering from clinical depression and anxiety. It's often recommended along with other interventions. In terms of anxiety and stress, we know that exercise helps to actually burn off these stress hormones. So if you think about what happens with stress or anxiety throughout human history, we would maybe see a tiger, for example, and when we have a stressor that confronts us like that. What our body really wants to do is run or flee. So to fight or flee. So it's the fight or flight response, which most people have heard from. But these days, most of our stressors don't come from tigers. They come from emails or whatever it might be. So our body is primed for us to experience that stressor, and then what it wants us to do is run or fight. But of course, we have to sit at our desks and answer the email or think of a response. So if what we can do is then exercise, that helps our body to feel that we've completed that stress cycle. And this is really helpful. So our bodies expect movement. Another thing that exercise can do is that in the short term, exercise actually releases some stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These are the same hormones that rise when we're stressed. But what this can do is that exercise can help our bodies to practice with stress hormones and to, in effect, become more efficient at managing stress responses than when they happen in real life situations. So it's really interesting seeing the effects, mental health effects of exercise. And of course, that's along with the physical health benefits. So we know that exercise reduces our risks of things like heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and strokes. There's just so much benefit to it.
Fantastic. So I'm going to move on to you now, Mohammed. I know you started running possibly around 5 or 6 years ago now. Can you tell us a little about your experiences and what prompted you to start running?
Thanks, Kate. So I guess I've never seen myself as a runner. In fact, funny story is the first race I signed up to about 10 years ago. I worked at the University of Leeds, and all the staff decided to sign up to the Leeds 10K. So I trained for about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. And I just decided it wasn't for me. It felt so far, it felt so long. I just couldn't do it. And I found when I looked around and spoke to other people, especially family and friends, no one else did any running. And so runners didn't look like me. So I kind of never thought it was for me. And so I kind of quit. And I only came back to it about 5 years ago. So in my 40s, I kind of came back to it. And I felt I needed to do some exercise. I wanted to look after myself. I just wanted to have a break from the tyranny of a desk job and emails and everything else. So kind of I came back to about 5 years ago, and it's been an absolute revelation for me, to be honest, ever since. It's been a huge change in my kind of sense of well-being ever since.
And so kind of moving on to is there anything that you've noticed about yourself since taking on regular physical activity and how it's made you feel?
Well, it's probably a combination of running and COVID and Zoom, but I recognize that I'm always living in my running kit. So I've been living in this for about 18, well, not the specific set. So I just wear kind of running kit all day long. It's much more comfortable than a suit and tie, I can tell you. But it's also been amazing in terms of just personal well-being and getting out. And I started road running initially. And then friends and colleagues had said, oh, you should do trail running. And I'd never, ever been trail running. And so I started kind of slowly trying to do some trail running. And I never realized that where I live, literally kind of 10 minutes walk from my house are some amazing trails up in hills, and there's waterfalls and there's rivers and streams, and it's just absolutely amazing to get out and away from the sounds of traffic and other people. And sometimes I used to go and run with no music or listen to audiobooks and just have the time out and even run and walk and just exploring. And I just felt so thrilled in doing that. And actually, I've set myself a target that I create the time by running, but when I'm running, I listen to audiobooks. So each year, I try to listen to 24 audiobooks. That's 2 books a month. Because when I was younger, I used to read a lot. But then, you get busy, you get kids, and you just never have the time to read. And so I've decided to listen to audiobooks when I run. So now I've traveled the world, history, other people's relationships, the future, all in audiobooks, and I learned so much by doing it. So that's, for me, has been absolutely brilliant. And then the other thing I picked up was started doing body balance, which is like a mix of Pilates and yoga to music, which is kind of good, and it's really great as cross training for runners as well. So I've kind of fitted all of that together, and I say running because I run so much now. It's it kind of manages my life, because it gives you that discipline. You've got to plan ahead, and because it affects when you can eat. It kind of affects meal times. It decides when you need to run. So it has a huge impact on my life in that sense, but a completely positive one.
Fantastic. You're now in training for the Mother of All Marathons, the London Marathon, on October the 3rd to raise funds for charity. So how's that going?
Oh my God. So this is marathon week now. So kind of 6 months of training come down to this last week. Really excited, really nervous. I never ever thought I was capable of doing a marathon, never mind, you know, or even a half marathon. Like I said, I pulled out of a 10K because I just felt mentally I wasn't able to do it because my heart was going so fast and I was sweating and I felt I was dying. And now, you know, just the idea even of thinking I've entered a marathon and I'm nearly there, it just kind of blows my mind, to be honest. I'm really proud of myself for kind of getting this far. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't quite kind of know what's going to happen. I've learned that 26.2 miles is such a long, long, long way. Kind of you run for hours and you're still not done yet. But the other thing I've learned is that it's okay to stop. It's okay to walk. Don't worry about the time. And I had a really positive thing, which was that 99% of everyone who starts a marathon finishes it. So if you exclude the time, it doesn't matter. You can walk across the line. It really does not matter. So I think for me, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like I've put the hard training in. So the marathon should be just to enjoy.
Fantastic. And for anyone interested in supporting, they can head to your Virgin Money Giving website page or through to the Pharmacist Support website too, and click on donate to support Mohammed in his efforts on Sunday, the 3rd of October. Fantastic. So just finally, have you noticed any other benefits in terms of how running or training to take part in London Marathon has helped you kind of meet and connect with other people? Has been anything like that you've noticed?
Oh, definitely. The running community is absolutely amazing. They're so generous. And I joined a running club only 6 weeks ago. So kind of all this time I've been running kind of on my own, to be honest, and learning about myself. But I think the greatest thing perhaps has been connecting with my environment. So just around me, the streets, the road, the trails. I mean, I live in Yorkshire and we've got the Pennines, we've got the Dales, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's been amazing. And this year I've raised just over £4,000, I think, so far for 2 different charities from running, which feels like a real world impact from something that I've enjoyed doing. And I'll be totally honest with you, Kate, that if I'm not videoing myself with a GoPro running, I've got a grimace on. So I'm only smiling when the camera's on. And if I see my pictures from the races, I've always got a grimace. But afterwards, I'm so kind of happy and satisfied and feel a real sense of accomplishment that I've managed to achieve something that I didn't think was possible. And so it's given me such a great sense of personal accomplishment and well-being. And you get to acquire great medals like these. So if you like your bling, kind of running's for you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. So Sheena, moving on to you. You're a pharmacist and a personal trainer. So can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so I've been a pharmacist for about 8 years now, and I've always been quite active from a young age. But one struggle, believe it or not, for me was weight gain, sort of not being able to gain weight. And so a few years ago, I started to sort of build up a real passion for sort of fitness, gym and exercise. And it was at this time I realized that actually going to the gym was helping me gain the weight. So I started doing weights. I started doing sort of looking at calories, increasing calories and things like that. And so I felt so much more sort of happy, confident after just being at the gym. So just in myself, I felt so much better. And then I think after this, I thought I would love to help other people sort of reach their goals and just sort of feel how I did. So whatever their fitness goals were. And I think being a pharmacist, fitness and health go hand in hand as well. I was studying for my IP course a few years before, and I thought, actually, why stop studying? Let me do my personal training course as well. And so that's how it came about. So it was a sort of a few years thing. It was more of a passion. And then I thought I'd love to help other people sort of feel the way that I did. And yeah, so here we are today. So pharmacist and personal trainer.
Fantastic. And how does being active support your own sense of well-being then when you're in the pharmacy?
So I'm personally someone who prefers to exercise in the evenings. And I love the feeling of exercising after work. I feel it's like downtime. It's time to reduce the stress, anxiety from if I had a busy day at work. What I've tried to do during my lunch times is just take a sort of 10 to 20 minute breather and go for a walk. And I find that massively impacts my well-being as well, just to sort of take that break away from work. And that's what I would encourage other people to do. So I know that everyone gets busy, but everyone's entitled to a break. So even if you can just take that sort of 10, 20 minutes out, just to sort of have a walk around, you'll notice a massive benefit from doing that.
Super. And are there any specific exercises you think are particularly beneficial to pharmacists? Perhaps those who are on their feet for long periods, etc.
My two top exercises would be squats and lunges. They're both compound exercises, so they work multiple muscle groups at the same time, and they're particularly good for strengthening our lower body. So I know that a lot of pharmacists are on their feet all the time. These exercises also help with sort of training our bodies to do daily activities such as lifting up objects, for example. And I know that in pharmacies a lot of the time we're sort of lifting heavy things up off the ground and just sort of bending over all the time. So those are the two main exercises I would say.
Fantastic. And final question to you all, really. Do you have any tips for those thinking about taking up running or looking to take their first steps to becoming more active? How can we perhaps build this physical activity into our regular routine? Perhaps we'll start with you, Mohammed.
Okay, I guess my top tip would be if you run, you're a runner, and it doesn't matter kind of what pace or what distance or what time or anything. I used to have this idea that runners ran fast. If I didn't run fast, I wasn't a real runner. And so one of the mantras I now have is that if it's cold and wet and miserable outside, or I'm not really feeling it today, I think if I'm a runner, what would a runner do? And a runner would go out and run. So I go out and run. And it doesn't matter, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it really doesn't matter. And so I think for me, that's kind of having that personal mantra and kind of squeezing it in whenever you can is just great.
Super. Sheena?
So I'm actually not a runner, believe it or not. So my advice would probably be, so walking could be just as beneficial. So if you feel that you aren't a runner, then walking is absolutely fine as well. So I would probably say maybe start by just having a look at step counts, and then building your step count up sort of day by day. And I think as you see you're doing more and more step counts, you get motivated to sort of keep going. That's a great start. And then absolutely, if you're interested in running, then that would be where you would start, and then we would follow into Mohammed's shoes.
Super. Melissa, do you have any tips for us?
Yeah, I think doing something with people can really be helpful and be motivating. So there are loads of groups that you can join based on interest. You can find them on Facebook or, all over the place. Even just asking some friends if they want to go out for a walk now and then, or family, building it into your schedule and building it into your schedule with people. Both can help you to keep doing it, because you don't want to let other people down. And sometimes if it's written down in your diary, it kind of nudges you to get there as well. So those would be my tips to somebody starting off.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you, everybody. That's all we've got time for today, I'm afraid. But I'd like to thank all of our guests for giving up their time today and sharing their learnings with us. You can still support Mohammed, as we've mentioned, on his Virgin Giving Money site. And you can also check out Sheena's video, 10-minute video, the active video that she's launched through the ACTNow campaign as well on our website. I hope all of those of you that are tuning into the chat have already checked out our Wardley Wellbeing Hub and signed up to the ACTNow campaign. By doing so, you'll receive information and links to our latest wellbeing resources and new wellbeing learning platform, and find out about future wellbeing chats like this one, volunteer opportunities and activities. We hope this session has inspired you all to act now, to allow time for wellbeing, to consider the needs of your colleagues and to take action. Take care out there, and we hope to see you all again soon.